So I just want to preface today that when I refer to Bankstown, I am referencing the work of the former Bankstown City Council, which now forms part of the newly merged City of Canterbury Bankstown. Okay, so for the last few years, Bankstown has shifted its overall attitude to illegal dumping from reactive to proactive, and a lot of this has been about negotiations and conversations. Bankstown's commitment to illegal dumping includes the adoption of a littering and illegal dumping strategic plan. We drove and we set up and we now host the Sydney Rid Squad. We have 2 dedicated special investigations officers, and our resource recovery team provides a lot of program support and funding application support to our compliance team. So a few years ago, Bankstown received $60,000 from the EPA, thank you EPA, under their cleanup program to run a combined education and compliance program. Whilst our compliance team trialled the use of surveillance cameras in some industrial areas around Bankstown, our resource recovery team focused on testing 4 education methods in high-density residential areas of the Bankstown CBD. Our methods, like a lot of the work we do at Bankstown, was based on a lot of research and case studies, as well as a lot of behavioural psychology theories. It's really important to know why people do what they do. So whilst we had assumptions on why people dumped, it was really important to test what those assumptions were and how our community responds. So we selected 4 trial areas, predominantly hotspot areas in our high residential areas. So for trial 1, we developed a flyer and a fridge magnet, and this was sent via direct addressed mail to the 284 households in the zone. Using the theories of social research, it implored residents to use their goodwill to be vigilant and look out for people doing the wrong thing in their street. We put additional signage prompts in their bin storage areas, reminding or outlining how to easily report dumping to council. And this trial was run for 1 month with twice weekly inspections where we took a visual count of dumping incidents in the street. We repeated this trial in February 2015 using exactly the same wording. The only difference was in how we disseminated that message. So instead of using the direct addressed mail, we changed it to a door hanger that was hung on the individual front door of each unit in the complex. At the same time as trial 1, the same flyer was directly mailed via addressed mail and again repeated with the door hangers. The only difference was that we offered an incentive reward for the information that led to successfully finding and fining the offender. With this, we wanted to test if incentive reporting from the community was a successful way of patrolling our hotspot areas. And that went out to 461 households in the zone. So our results of trial 1 and 2 combined was we found only 1 person rang to report an incident. And this really aligns with the research that the EPA have just done, that people are perhaps a little hesitant to do that. We didn't give a reward because the information wasn't valuable. With the number of incidents, there were 16 fewer incidents in February than from the September period, and this represents a 60% decrease. Of most interest was the success of using the door hanger compared to the addressed mail. It's seen as a bit more personal, it's on your front door, it's on your property, and potentially had greater success of reaching the resident as opposed to letterboxes which often go unchecked. And it's also reasonable to assume that the difference in the total incidents between September and February was due to factors like the repetition of council being in the area and active, and appealing for residents to be vigilant, maybe discouraging people from doing the wrong thing for fear of being caught. With Trial 3, we sent a voucher via addressed mail to 470 households in the zone, entitling them to redeem their free disposal voucher at the Chullora Resource Recovery Park. Now, this was less than 5 kilometres from their residence, so it wasn't really a big ask for them to take their rubbish to the transfer station. This was to test the assumption that cost of disposal was the barrier to people doing the right thing. And Trial 4, again, was sent via direct mail to nearly 800 households, offering them a free clean-up service if they were moving out within the next 3 months. Now, this service was different to Council's existing clean-up service, whereby the individual unit could book the collection as opposed to the whole unit complex, which was already required. And the collection would occur within 2 business days, which is again different to the standard 2 to 3 week wait time under the standard service. And this trial was to test the assumption that convenience was the barrier to people doing the right thing. And both those trials were run over 3 months. So our results of Trial 3 and 4, you can see here that the uptake was quite low for both the 3-month trial offers. Observationally, there appeared to be very little positive impact on the incidence of dumping, with an average of 40 incidents recorded per month across both those zones, which was very high compared to Trial 1 and 2. This suggests that maybe convenience and the cost of disposal may not necessarily be the obstacles we thought they were to people doing the right thing. So that was the end of our grant, the end of the year. Thank you, EPA. And we needed to work out what to do with these results from our next steps. We didn't have to wait long because the Sydney RID Squad, of which Bankstown Council was the host, approached us with a problem area in Jacobs Street, Bankstown. It's a Housing New South Wales complex of 45 units, and it was notorious for daily dumping incidents. So our resource recovery team was approached for help to develop some resources to help them tackle this problem property. Using what we had found from our grant, we focused our messaging on using the words no, illegal, wrong thing, very clearly sending that message that what's often considered common practice for residents in high-res areas is actually very much the wrong thing to do. But we also gave the correct behaviour of what to do with your materials by booking a clean-up service. This postcard was delivered by the RID investigator under the front door of each unit in the complex, and the investigator inspected that area by a daily drive-by every day. And for a record 10 days, there were no incidents at this complex, remembering that this was notorious for daily dumping. So we've already got quite a good success just by that postcard. So when the first dumping incident happened, they acted quickly. Another postcard was hand-delivered, again under the front door of each unit, appealing for information about the items lying out the front of that complex. And this was done by the investigator. At the same time, the officer taped the material and placed a stake in the ground asking for information, and this sent a very clear message to any observers around the area that the material was not supposed to be in that location and it was illegal. Once those materials were taped and signed, this happened 3 days into the investigation. So something was obviously quite effective about the method that we were going through. So due to the success of this Jacob Street trial, we extended it to an additional 3 hotspot mud areas in the Bankstown CBD. Again, the postcards were delivered under the front doors and drive-by inspections were conducted for a month. So there would usually be weekly incidents at these complexes, and this is how many incidents we found over that 1-month inspection period. Pretty good success. So we moved on to another 3 complexes, and at the end of that month, we had found just 3 incidents. So in summary, we had 6 complexes, all inspected for 1 month, and only 4 incidents over that period. So in our opinion, it's a complete change from the norm of what we were used to. So you can see that this is a really simple methodology. It didn't cost a lot of money. It didn't really, there's no bells and whistles. It's a postcard. But it does have the potential to dramatically change how councils approach this common problem. The question remains, though, whose responsibility is it to implement? So there's probably a bit of a mixture of investigators and educators in the room. And traditionally, educators don't have the delegations to enforce, and enforcers don't always view education as part of their role. So can I pose the question to you after seeing our results here? Can education and enforcement coexist in the same role? Can an educator assist to develop the resources that the enforcer will use as part of a proactive compliance program? Now, I know that this will take negotiation, just in your organisation, just like it continues to do in ours. It doesn't happen overnight. But what real benefit does this methodology offer to your compliance team? In our experience, for that small upfront cost of time, we did see time saved by not investigating and collecting incidents regularly from the same locations over that month period. An organisation that has already established an illegal dumping strategy, hopefully by doing so with consultation across your stakeholder groups, will probably find this a bit easier, but it's not to say that it can't be done without such a strategy. So what are our next steps? Well, we are in the throes of amalgamation, and that is posing a lot of complex problems for councils. Negotiation is what we have become accustomed to, and keeping conversations happening. We are reviewing all our processes at the same time, and for councils going through amalgamation, it feels like doing work on steroids because we're doing everything at the same time. We do acknowledge that there has been a lot of momentum has been lost in the illegal dumping education and enforcement space, but we're navigating through larger corporate problems at the same time. So our mission is we're trying to keep those conversations going and keeping the dialogue open for us to assist our compliance team when they're ready to agree on a new joint process for our amalgamated council. But what we have been able to demonstrate is we have an interest in what we do as an organisation. This process works across teams to achieve results in large community problems with the research that we've done. And we really are just waiting for that green light to make it all happen and get a seat at the table to agree on that new process. So I really do hope that I've inspired you today to start some negotiations in your organisations, however small they may be. And I'd love to see some results of future proactive compliance programs as a result. Thank you.